Hey, welcome to the show. As you can tell, Tommy's away on a video games live tour, but our good friend Jeff Keighley is back. We've got lots of great games to talk about. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Lots of cool games, lots of mechs, lots of cartoons.
And some crappy games.
And some crappy games.
Exactly.
But there's some good ones. Today on Reviews on the Run, Jeff and I are taking a look at Armored Core 4, Earth Defense Force 2017, Arthur and the Invisibles, and at Versus, it's Meet the Robinsons against TMNT. Some of the games we look at on Reviews on the Run are intended for a mature audience. Please pay attention to each game's ESRB rating. All right, the first game we're going to talk about is from Sega. It's out there for the PlayStation 3 and also for the Xbox 360. It's Armored Core 4.
That's right.
And is this really the fourth one? Because it's
apparently, well, From Software, the guys who developed this, they they did Chrome Hounds, Armored Core. They do all these kind of mech games. And I gotta say, I'm just so sick of these mech games.
I used to love Armored Core. I used to love it on the older consoles. I thought it was a great game. I love giant robot games, and yes, as we've entered into this next generation, I've been continually let down. That Mobile Suit Gundam, what a piece of crap that was.
The thing is, part of me, it's like now you see these games and you can just have, regular characters causing all this destruction. And part of the fun of these mech games is just, I would think on the next one they just blow you away with the destruction.
They give you this amazing intro in this game as well. It's just incredible what they sort of allude to.
No, but you get into this and Chrome Hounds, I was disappointing because there was so much strategy on top of it. It was so slow paced.
And the single player sucked.
Yeah, these vast rolling fields where there's nothing to do. This one at least is a little faster paced.
Yes.
You got your boosters. You can sort of boost around as much as you want.
Yeah.
And it is a little more action packed, but the missions they're so short too. I feel like they're just like a minute or two and boring.
There's no structure to the story really. You don't really get a sense that you're progressing through it.
It's two boring factions though, Vic, and it's the future where no one knows what's going on.
I know. You have to customize your core and put different paint schemes and emblems and stuff like that on it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's different schematics, right?
Yeah, and you earn new schematics so you can unlock new mechs, basically. And you can go online and challenge people and fight online.
Multiplayer, I think, is very basic.
It is.
A couple, it's like a couple maps. You can just sort of, throw people in there. It's kind of like deathmatch with mechs.
Totally. And it's not even as fun as Virtual On was back in the day.
Well, where's like the co-op and kind of the common mission, the different type of mission types, defending, bases and stuff. This thing it really sucks.
Well, especially when you can look back on the Xbox and think back to the Mech Assault games, both 1 and 2. So far for me, those have been the best mech experiences that I've had.
I'm kind of bored with mech games in general. Because next gen, you can do better storytelling, you can have characters, and now it's just these these big hulking pieces of metal that can blow up buildings. It doesn't work for me.
And your point as well about destroying the environments when you play a game like Crackdown, even, which has kind of got a cartoony kind of thing, you feel like you've got more power as that little dude that can also drive a vehicle. Just jumping around from building in this giant, enormous robot.
I want the big mushroom cloud, and I want to feel like you're just, ripping through buildings.
The streets and stuff like that too, like the cities that you're doing all of this death and destruction in, they're deserted. There's no real sense of like they've got lots of people running around.
I had more fun with a game like War of the Monsters on the PS2, where you'd be able to destroy buildings and throw things around and stuff. And you want to be a mech that's picking up cars, and you want to be like that Transformers movie. You see some of the CG shots
Transformers
of that.
game better be good.
Yeah, that's what you want. That Transformers. I have some hope because that could be a great mech game if they really blow that out. But this thing, it is one of the worst games I've played so far this year.
I get the sense that you're writing off the whole giant robot mech kind of genre. I'm not. I still have faith. I still have hope. Mobile Suit Gundam almost destroyed me. This game isn't much better. It's a little bit more fun than that game.
It's kind of bombed out, a little bit like this building.
Yeah, it is a little bit like this. Actually looks like a set piece right from the game. That's why we chose it. But honestly, Armored Core, it literally put me to sleep. I fell asleep playing this game, but I didn't hate the game. It was definitely a step up from Mobile Suit Gundam, but it's definitely not as good as previous Armored Core games. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
You got to be below 5 on something like this. I was really disappointed. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
A 4 out of 10?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. On the positive side, the game does feature some online play. You can customize your mechs in millions of different ways. And the action is much more fast-paced than some of those plodding robot games we've played recently.
On the negative side, there is online play, but I don't know who'd want to play it. There's not much in the way of modes, and there weren't many people playing online when we checked. The actual single-player missions are really short, and there's not a big sense of destruction in the environment. And the gameplay doesn't really have much next-gen to it. I mean, there's really nothing that you're doing here that you couldn't have done on a previous system. Someone's got to shake up the next-gen mech combat genre.
All right, so first-person shooters on the PSP, not always a very enjoyable experience. No dual analog thumbstick, always a drag to have to deal with aiming and pointing and running in the right direction and taking care of bad guys. But Call of Duty Roads to Victory actually does things pretty well. It's actually a pretty decent playing first-person shooter on the PSP. The game's been developed by Amaze Entertainment in Seattle, and those guys have been doing some pretty good work on the handheld systems over the last little while. I'm impressed by the visual look of the game. The speed is actually pretty solid. It keeps a decent frame rate throughout the experience. It's more of the same kind of gameplay that we've played in like Call of Duty 3 and the previous Call of Duties. I do like the fact that you get to play as Canadian troops in the game, just like in Call of Duty 3. And so far, I've found this to be the most enjoyable World War II shooter on the handhelds. Obviously, there's room for improvement, and if they do a PSP revision and actually give us some better 3D control, that'll be great. But until that time, I don't mind playing this Call of Duty on the PSP. Call of Duty Roads to Victory, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. All right, well, stick around. We have more giant robot destruction coming up after the break. We've got Earth Defense Force 2017.
That's right.
And it also features environments just like this.